The following WCIA3 News Special is brought to you by the McDonald Group, Crumble Cookie Champagne, Floor Coverings International, and the U of I Community Credit Union. Honoring Black History with Celebrating Central Illinois. Here is your host, Amanda Brennan.
Good evening, I'm Amanda Brennan. As Black History Month comes to a close, we're highlighting many people in Central Illinois. They all make an impact, whether it be in law enforcement, at the U of I, and in the community. You'll be learning more about who they are besides just their job titles. Tonight, we begin with Larry Boone. He's only been Urbana's police chief for about a year and a half, but has law enforcement experience spanning decades. Here's the thing, though. He never pictured himself in a role like this to begin with. Growing up, he was sent to jail twice and then sent to live in Georgia with his grandparents to turn his life around. That's when things started to change.
I'm looking back on my history, I would have never thought that I would be a police chief, much less a policeman, period.
Larry Boone grew up in New Brunswick, New Jersey, about half an hour south of Newark and just across the way from Rutgers University.
Looking out my window towards the university, everything was very bright, and where I live, everything was very dark.
Before he even turned 18, he was arrested twice.
Only through the grace of God and good people was I able to change my environment, and from there things were brighter.
He moved to Georgia where he lived with his grandparents and later played football in college.
And I happened to make a tackle on the sideline, and on the sideline there was an African-American police officer. Now, I'd never seen one of those before, okay?
That was the moment he knew he was going to be a cop, regardless of his background.
Spent 32 years in the Norfolk Police Department, working my way up through the ranks.
In 2023, Boone was officially sworn in as the chief in Urbana.
I, Larry Boone.
Hi, Larry Boone.
Here in Central Illinois, one of his main focuses is connecting with the community.
Going into communities that you typically wouldn't go into unless you recall, but the way to build relationships is you go there when nothing's going on. Regardless of your circumstances, you can be pretty much whatever you want to be if you put the effort into it.
His story is a perfect example of that, as he proves representation matters, especially while he tries to make a difference in the city he now calls home.
You got to put hands on. And once you put hands on, you don't let those hands off. You continue to follow them and see, how life is going with them.
He says he's the second African-American chief to serve Urbana. Now, another fun fact, he says in Norfolk, Virginia, where he served as the chief, he has been there for about 252 years. He was the first officer to hold every rank there at the department. Boone has the display of badges up in his office, along with many other reminders of why he set down the path of policing. And the Champaign County NAACP president is focused on building strong connections with Chief Boone and Champaign's Chief Timothy Dyler. Minnie Pearson has made it her mission to build bridges between her organization and the community. For example, during COVID, she volunteered and distributed masks, groceries, and medical supplies throughout the county. But for a while, she never thought any of this was possible. Her dad inspired her to join the NAACP after she encountered a scary situation shortly after moving to Champaign. Now, she can't imagine her life without the group.
And today, as of probably 8 years ago, I've been the president. And I love it. It's a job where you get to build bonds and relationships with every segment of the community. And believe it or not, this is a wonderful community to be in. I love Champaign-Urbana. I really do, the people.
Besides staying connected with the community around her, she regularly leads NAACP meetings. The group meets monthly at the Champaign Public Library. It's a hobby turned business for twin sisters in Champaign, how they hope to inspire the future generation. Plus, a Central Illinois man is on a mission to get kids away from gun violence, what he's been doing for the past decade to make a change in the community.
Celebrating Central Illinois continues honoring Black history.
In the last several years, reducing gun violence has been a big goal for many community activists. Many of them work with young kids, making sure they have a strong foundation as they grow up. For Willie Comer, it's all about meeting the kids where they are. That means going into Champaign schools and inviting teenagers to his Youth for Christ house, plus organizing a midnight basketball league.
Hallowed be your name. Hallowed be your name. You can be everything that God called you to be. You can become that. We're going to wrap around to help you get there.
To Reverend Willie Comer, that means meeting kids at a place they love, the basketball court. He and his team started hosting midnight basketball in 2011 as a way to lift up and connect with the next generation.
It's a fun environment, safe, good for everybody to find something to do that you wouldn't really get in trouble from. It's just a getaway for real. Like, everybody in the city be there.
Since 6th grade, they've been coming to midnight basketball, and now they're seniors. So it's been 6 years in their lives consistently every year for 6 years.
How does that make you feel?
It's the purpose. It is what we do. It's what we want it to do. We want it to be able to be influential.
But Comer knew more had to be done outside of the gym as well.
The question was, man, if we took lunch to the schools, the kids would come to eat the lunch and we could build relationships.
Now he visits a different middle or high school every day in Champaign, providing lunch and meaningful conversation. On Fridays, students from Central cross the street and hang out at the Youth for Christ house.
We knew that a lot of our kids needed access to computers. Some of them didn't have it, so we built a computer lab.
Taking it one step further, they also installed printing presses to make t-shirts.
So she designed it herself, and then she cut it out, and then she put Jeremiah 29:11 on the back of it.
Head upstairs where you'll find a music studio.
This is all the top DJ equipment that's out right now.
And a podcast room.
It's called Chopping It Up, and the kids will come here and we have subject matter that we'll have discussions about.
The song that will be used in the background of it? Well, students will create it using technology down in the basement.
It was literally my prayer to be able to have a space that we could have all these things in.
It's clear he's making a difference. No matter if you're a teenager,
Keeping me on track and making me want to do the right things.
or in your 40s.
Pastor Comer actually was a part of my life before I got to this point. Like, he used to be the person I would just call. He's a mentor, somebody to follow. And I believe what he's doing, And he's the type of person that he shows you that this is not where we stay. Every year we go up.
Jeffrey Wilson, Willie Comer, and many other leaders are dedicating their lives to lifting kids up, paving a path so real, meaningful change happens when they walk out these doors and enter the real world.
We are making an impact, that we can love kids to a level of success. And I believe that that's super important, that to be able to put our arms around a kid and say, man, listen, I got you. I love you. Hey, let me know what you need.
His goals for students don't stop here. They're planning to take podcasting to the next level and learn about broadcasting with Brian Barnhart. He does play-by-play for Illini football and basketball, and he'll be working with the students to train them to broadcast live basketball. With his help, the students will be doing just that at middle and high school games starting next year. Well, a Central Illinois Community College program was created from a jail cell. How one man is helping people learn the skills they need in the workforce. Plus this.
We're certainly a road less traveled for someone like me.
U of I's Chancellor Jones will be leaving Champaign-Urbana in a couple of months. A look back at his career before he goes to the West Coast. Well, who doesn't love a sweet treat, especially when a small, locally owned bakery whips it together? That's exactly what twin sisters are doing at their home kitchen in Champaign. Janice and Jasmine Baines have always loved baking. During the COVID pandemic, friends convinced them to take their hobby one step further and start a small business. It's called Niece's Pieces Brownies. They started trying unique recipes until they found the perfect combination of ingredients.
once I like mix all the ingredients together and put it in the oven, and then I just start smelling it, I'm like, okay, that's a good one, that's a good batch.
I personally am a social worker, I'm a counselor, so I never thought to be in the baking business, but I want to support my sister and help her to achieve her dreams.
Their mission goes beyond just baking. They also want to inspire and represent the next generation, showing that anyone can do whatever they want to achieve. Now, from one set of bakers to another, Misha Fields is living her dream and decorating sweet treats every day, but that wouldn't be possible without a unique program at Richland Community College. She's one of 62 Black-owned business owners in Decatur who took advantage of classes that one community activist started. In fact, Courtney Carson was writing the curriculum while behind bars as a teenager. He has turned his life around and wants to do the same for others in Macon County.
If you're ready, say I'm ready. Ready. Essential Skills family. How you feeling? Fantastic. Terrific. Great. All day long. Bang, bang, bang. Woo! Clap it up.
This is an inside look into one of the enriched programs at Decatur's Richland Community College. It's anything but a typical classroom experience.
It's a project and a program to change lives.
It blends together technical skills.
So we running it from the fuse box into one of the light switches right here.
And essential skills.
Trigger their parasympathetic nervous system and then teach them how to regulate that, because trauma is real and it affects the body in ways that we truly don't understand unless you get the proper training.
Courtney Carson is keeping it simple, teaching students how to be a better them before entering the workforce.
It's more than getting the job, but who am I on the job and how can I grow on the job, right?
Sean Honorable enrolled just a few years ago and says he has grown in ways he never thought possible.
It just makes me feel good. It's just like because I get to do things with my hands and I get to help others.
He's preparing to graduate in May, focusing his studies on HVAC systems.
You always need something done with your furnaces and all that.
From the classroom to the real world, enriched grads are proving anything is possible.
I wanted to jump to the end product, which was the fun, creative stuff, but there's lots of steps in between for owning a business.
That's where the classes came in, helping Misha Fields launch the business of her dreams, Sugar Fix.
I wanted to do something that made people happy versus something that, would bring you down.
Seeing success stories like hers and Honorable's,
I can't believe it. You're going to make me cry if I continue to talk about it.
Keeps Carson motivated to support others.
If I had that level of hope when I was young, I wouldn't have tried to go sell a drug, or I wouldn't have tried to go or commit some criminal activity.
For a while, that's the path he was going down. He was involved in this 1999 school fight at Eisenhower High School. It was a crime that turned into a national headline.
The school district expelled us for 2 years. The courts tried to charge us with 2 felony mob action.
So while sitting in a jail cell, he had time to reflect and decide what he was going to do next.
So I was trying to find joy in this circumstance, and I started writing a series of poems and a series of affirmations and things to do when I get out.
That's when the Enrich program was formed and then eventually turned into what it is today.
Over 3,000 individuals here, 81% African American. 90% are at work today with a job that's 30% higher than the regional work percentage here.
His work isn't stopping here, hoping the next generation finds safety and belonging in a place that's sure to be a catalyst towards successes and achievements the rest of their lives.
We cannot hurt our children because they are our future, and we must take that into consideration or we're doomed.
His curriculum is now in 23 different community colleges in Illinois and 4 out of state. Those who go through Enrich are given a stipend for their education. Now, going back to the 62 Black-owned businesses in Decatur, 17 of them are owner-operated. Carson says those 17 entrepreneurs have generated $2.9 million to pour back into the community. Robert Jones has been U of I's chancellor for nearly a decade. We'll tell you all about his career in higher education, plus this.
Oftentimes tell people the best coach in my household is my wife.
Illinois football's defensive coordinator and his wife are a dynamic duo, how both do their jobs and have the same goal in the community. In the last 8.5 years, U of I's Chancellor Robert Jones has made it his mission to connect with students, paving paths to success in innovative ways. He'll soon move west for a new opportunity, but not without looking back on his time in orange and blue. Before he was celebrating with championship-winning coaches,
Who's big in the Big Ten? Absolutely us!
Cheering with fans in the stands, or even before being introduced as the 10th chancellor at the University of Illinois, Robert Jones was living in Georgia, dreaming of being a scientist one day.
I was going to pursue a major within agriculture.
After running a lab and moving to universities around the country, he eventually found his way into roles he never imagined himself in.
And over the course of the next decade, I got pulled slowly but surely into administrative issues.
Jones joined the Illinois family in 2016. He says there's a lot to be proud of in that time, including a $2.7 billion philanthropic campaign, the largest in school history. Part of that benefited one of the biggest colleges on campus.
$150 million gift from Larry Geese to name the College of Business. And that was transformative.
But what he's most proud of actually came as a result of COVID-19.
Everybody rolled up their sleeves, and it just demonstrated in the face of an emergency and a crisis, it's what you can do.
U of I researchers created a saliva-based test where students regularly spit in tubes. That way, they could be cleared to enter buildings and go to class.
It was one of the most fundamental things I've ever experienced in higher education.
It wasn't just testing that came out of the pandemic.
They started to call me Papa Jones. I'm not sure how I felt about that initially, but I think it was symbolic of the sense of connection they felt to this place and the connection they had with me as its chancellor.
Being approachable was one of his biggest goals and hopes fun videos like this help with that too.
It was very important to me that students understood that I was approachable.
He'll be continuing that mantra at the University of Washington as his career continues.
I had not planned to go and pursue another opportunity, but things happened. I was heavily recruited for this opportunity.
No matter what, he'll always remember his time in orange and blue and as the first African-American chancellor on campus. Jones hopes other Illini walk away not only feeling a sense of pride,
and they're part of something special and unique by having an Illinois degree,
but also a sense of inspiration for wherever their journey leads next.
That if I can do it, anyone can do it.
He says he always planned to stay up to 10 years and knew it was time to move on. Starting in August, his 5-year contract begins as the president at the University of Washington in Seattle. Well, from one inspirational leader on the U of I campus to another, you may recognize Aaron Henry from sidelines at Illinois football games. He's the defensive coordinator, but wants to be more than a coach for the athletes. He and his wife are teaming up to be their Central Illinois support systems, drawing from some of their own experiences to help others, proving that the game goes beyond the field.
This profession for me has really been fulfilling and is truly a blessing. The cool part about it is being able to change young people's lives.
That's always what Illinois defensive coordinator Aaron Henry wanted to do.
I knew my place was being able to reach and touch people.
He just didn't know he'd be doing it on a football field.
My goal was to be a missionary and travel the world and spread the gospel.
Before he was coaching college students turned NFL players, he was living with his grandparents in southern Florida.
The first time I had a football in my hand was my grandmother. My grandmother, she actually used football as a way for me to kind of get out of the house a little bit.
That was the pivotal moment he says changed the trajectory of his life.
I had just came off the heels of living with my mother, and then my mother was going through some stuff, and my grandmother took me in and started raising me, and so she really utilized football as a stabilizer for me, and it really changed my life.
He went on to play at the University of Wisconsin, where he met Brett Bielema.
Coach B is a significant part of my story and my journey because I can remember when he offered me a job.
But more importantly, Madison's where he met the love of his life, Camille.
My secret weapon is this lovely lady right here, my wife.
Together, they're balancing the fun of raising 2 young girls and the seriousness of their full-time jobs. She's a school psychologist.
I work with kids, adolescents, young adults who are struggling with various externalizing issues or internalizing issues like anxiety or depression or ADHD or autism.
What sounds like 2 polar opposite jobs for the Henrys is actually the perfect combination of careers.
I will say the way they're the same is that we want to help young people.
I want the kids, the student athletes, to know that even if you don't feel like going to him, if something's going wrong, like I just want them to know they can come to me.
They often invite players and families over to their home, creating bonds outside of the football facilities.
Opening up our home to them and having them over, we get more joy in that than they probably do.
He says those connections break down barriers, leading to powerful and sometimes life-changing conversation. But that's not the only way he hopes to inspire them.
Representation is, especially in this field, right, it's extremely important.
He wants every player to understand that too.
If you decide to get in this profession and impact people, you do have people in this building that look like you.
It wasn't always an easy path for them to get where they are today.
We come from the struggle.
But the Henrys want to make sure that the challenges don't hold the next generation back.
If you have resilience, if you work hard, you can get to be where you want to be, but it really starts with representation.
They want football and good people to propel them into the future the same way it did for Aaron.
At the end of the day, people want to be loved and they want to be cared for.
Henry is also proud of Illinois' all-black full-time defensive staff. He says they're one of a handful of universities with one. Well, over the last half hour, you have heard from many people who have been working as an inspiration to others. They're really making a difference within their communities. And while Black History Month ends in just a couple of days, we hope to feature more people in Central Illinois throughout the year. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.
This has been Celebrating Central Illinois, honoring Black history. Brought to you by the McDonald Group, Crumble Cookie Champagne, Floor Coverings International, and the U of I Community Credit Union.